I totally forgot to do an introduction for this, so I've hurriedly done this one during editing. This is the final part of the multi-language subtitles video, and I use a third-party tool called Google Spreadsheets for Unity. And it costs $20 in the asset store, but it's totally well worth it if you, especially if you're going to go down this route. And it makes it a lot easier for designers and so forth in your company, or just in your team. If it's just a bunch of you guys just fresh out of school or whatever, you want to make a game. And you obviously want to support as many languages as possible, because the more languages you support, the more sales you're going to get. It's a no-brainer. So yeah, totally well worth the $20. I've tried to cut as much as I could of fluff out of this one, because I know that it doesn't really help, especially in this video if I just left it in. So you'll see quite a bit of jump cuts, so just to warn you. But of course, let's get cracking, and we start after the fade. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to download something called GSFU, rather unfortunately titled, but let's go to the asset store and see if we can find it. Last time I checked it was about $20, so I'm going to have to buy that. So Google Sheets for Unity. Here we go. So if you don't want to do it this way, there is an alternative way that we can do it, but it is much more involved and requires a little bit more faffing around, which is why I want to do it this way here. So that being said, it's like $20, and I'm going to go ahead and buy this just now. I'm not going to have any financial information, but it will be available to me after this. So I will catch you after I've bought this inside Unity. So we're back in here, and I'm going to download this just now. So downloaded it, and I'm going to import it. And there's a few files here, and that's about it. So I'm going to click on import, and it will do the compiling scripts, blah 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 blah. And I made a backup. Go ahead. So it's not quite up to date, this one, I guess. But I've used this before, so it's good. Okay, and that's us. We should have that inside here now. Go to where are we? Cloud Tools. So you see that we now have our Cloud Tools and everything down there. So next step is to read the manual again, because it's been a while since I've used this, and then we'll set up Google Spreadsheets on the other side. So now that we have that downloaded and installed, you see that the files are over here. I'm going to double click on this because we have a couple of things that we need to set up. First thing is that there is a script that we need to run, and there's a couple of, I can let you read this here. Just put that in the road. A couple of things that we need to run through. I've been through this a couple of times before, and I'm actually recording. This is the second time I've recorded this video, so hopefully it will go a bit smoother than the previous time. All right, so you get this PDF file with the download, and it goes through and explains a whole bunch of like how to walk you through it. So what we're going to do is we're going to just walk through the steps that you need to do. So the thing I'm looking for is there's this part here, which is deployment on the server side. So the first step in setting up Google Sheets for Unity is getting a copy of the web service script. Easiest thing done is you click on that and click on allow, obviously, and then that will take you to this here. Now I'm going to blot out a few things because I don't want you to see this address up here. But you want to take a copy of this, and we're going to paste that in a specific part of the code, sorry, not this part here, but we get a code later on, and I'll show you it. There's also another couple of things down here. So you can also put a passcode on access to this script. So the passcode is kind of hidden inside this script here. So your mileage may vary as far as security is concerned, but we're just going to leave it as just the passcode. Now, what this will actually do is it will take the spreadsheet. So this is the spreadsheet I've created, which I'm going to come to in just a second. But I've created this spreadsheet, and you can see that it has all the same text that we had in the script. It's just that it's the key is this column here, the English translation is here, the French translation is here, the Russian translation is here. And you see that we have Russian, French, and English, and then we have the key over here. But it's essentially the same information that we have in our JSON files. Now, what this script is going to do is it's going to allow us to connect to the web service and pull down a JSON formatted string. It's not going to be in the right format though, so we're going to have to do some fixing up. But we'll do that in the next part when we get to, not the next part, the later on in this video. Next part. That's what I mean by next part, is later on in this video. We'll take that JSON data and we'll manipulate it into a JSON format that we can understand. Okay, so first thing though is we need to publish this. Now you can change the passcode in here. So if I go to the code here, you'll see that we're going to be using the editor part of this. So if you want to locate the Cloud Connector editor script that's part of the download there. I don't want to show too much of this because this is actually, like I said in the intro to this, it's a paid product. So I don't want to show too much code of theirs in there. But the first part is the spreadsheet ID. That's the easiest part. If we go back to here, and then we go up to here, this part here. So again, I'm going to blot this out. But it is that part there. So you want to make a copy of that and you want to paste that inside here. So just so that I'm not showing this all the time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this line out and paste it later on in the code so that I'm not always showing it. But rest assured it is still there. So it's just so that I don't want this to be shown all the time, so I don't have to keep on blotting things out, just in case I flip between actually no, I can just leave it as that, and I just will do that later on so that when we flip back to this, if we happen to flip back to it, it's not going to show on the screen. So this will be blotted out, but it is the spreadsheet ID. So just make sure you save the file there. And then the second part is this. Service password, which is passcode, and that should match up with this phrase here. So you can call it whatever you want. So Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it. And then the last part there is the web service URL. So we're going to leave it as passcode. So the last part is the web service URL. So where do we get that from? If we go back to here and we do publish, and then it is deploy as web app, and it will ask you a few questions. And again, I'm going to be blotting this out because there's a lot of personal information that's on here. But this is the script here. So that's the script. Web apps must be deployed as a version. So we're going to say this is a new version, and this is going to be initial upload, and then execute the app as you. So it's you that created this. And then who has access to this app? Well, it's anyone, even anonymous. And then I want to click on update, and it says it needs your permission to access this. We should have probably called it something else, so you can change it up there, but I'll leave it as copy of Cloud Connector. It doesn't really matter. Review permissions, and then again this is going to be blotted out, but you choose whatever account it is that you're running it as. It says this app isn't verified. That means that it's this app, I think. This app hasn't been verified by Google yet, so just click on Advanced and then go to Copy of Cloud Connector, which is the app that we're creating. And then it says that you want to view and manage your spreadsheets in Google Drive. This will allow Copy of Cloud Connector to do that. So that's our app. We can read the source code. We know it's okay. So then we just click on Allow. And at that point, it will give you a URL. And again, this will be blotted out in the recording here. But I will copy all of this. And I will click on OK so that it goes away. And then I'll go in here and I will paste it in there. Okay, so that is the web service URL. So that's us all set up. We've got our password, we've got our spreadsheet ID, and we have our web service URL. So the web service URL is the one that's going to get called, and then it's going to access this spreadsheet ID, and then we're going to get those values back. All right, so I'm going to close that just so that I don't open it up again. That's the only thing we need to do inside there. The next thing I want to do though is I want to create a file. So up here you'll see that we have entries up here for I think there's tools, and then there's Google Sheets for Unity, and then we have all these extra menu items there. What we're going to do is we're going to create our own menu item, and we're going to recreate these files just from one click. So first things first, we are going to delete those three files. So script.en.txt, script.fr, and script.ru are gone, because we're now going to make it database driven. We're going to be getting those values from a spreadsheet on the cloud. So if I go to my scripts folder and then I do create and then folder, and I'm going to call this editor. Now it's got to be capital EDITOR. That's a special folder name for Unity. For those of you who don't know, anything that's in there will run, well, it's the ones that are compiled with the editor assembly. Again, a bit technical there, but basically it's the editor project, so it's not going to be shipped with your final game. So any code that you put inside here won't get shipped with your final game. So it's really for like your tools and things like that. That's why it goes in there. So I'm just going to call this something bizarre like Google Script Importer. Something like that, Google Script Importer. And then I'm going to double click it and reload solution. Now, this is not going to extend from monobehavior, instead it's going to extend from editor, which means instead of Unity Engine, I actually want Unity Editor. Okay, and I think we can get rid of those there as well. Now what we want to do is we want to create a method that we're going to call when we click a menu item. So I'm going to do public static. Can I make that static? I don't know if I can make it static. Anyway, public static do import. Oops, do import. Now it doesn't matter what that's called. What matters though is that we have a menu item on here. So I'm going to call it menu item. And then we put in the path where we want this to go. So this is going to be the top level menu, and then we do a slash, and then that gives us subsequently indented menu items. So let's call this our game, and then slash, and then this is going to be import script from Google Sheets. Let's be picky about it. Okay. Oh, that's got to be void as well. So that's our script so far, and just to prove that we have that, we'll go back to here and we'll let it compile a bit. And you'll see that we now have a menu up here that says our game, and then underneath there it's got one that says import script from Google Sheets. So it doesn't do anything. You can click on it and it doesn't do anything, but it's there. So this is how you can extend the editor. So what do we want to actually do? Well, we want to do a couple of things here. We want to set up a callback, because every time we receive data from the Google Sheets for Unity, it it does it asynchronously. So it sends the request out, and then at some point later, because of network traffic and all that kind of stuff, it comes back with the data that we want. So the way that we do that is there is what's the name of the object again? Sorry, I've got notes here from the last time I did this. Cloud connector core dot processed response callback, and then I want to do add listener, and then it's going to be called data received, something like that. Okay, and then we're going to call the spreadsheet getter part, but first I'm going to do a little light bulb here, and then I'm going to call, I'm going to click generate method received, and you see that we now have our method here, and our method is query type. Let's put this on separate lines here, and then this is object names, and then this is data. Now the only thing that we're really interested in is actually the data, and to be honest, the only thing we're interested in is the first part of that data. So I'm just going to say var json equals data 0. So we're just going to assume that we have data there, and then I can do console.log. Oh, sorry, it's debug.log. Oops, debug.log JSON. And I guess I need to add using Unity Engine. Okay. And the reason I need the Unity Engine is because I've added the debug, so that's why. And then to actually get the data, all I need to do is cloud connector core dot get table, and then I need a table name, whatever the table name is, and then I'm just going to make that as false. I'm not sure what that other one is. Runtime equals true. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but it works with false, so I'm going to keep it as false. So what do we need to get from here? Well, we need to know the name of the table, which is the data here. So I'm going to call it scripts. So that's what we need to get, is scripts. Okay. So it is very, very basic. This is what we have. We can put in raw data in here, and then we've got our data back, and we can manipulate it somehow. But it does give it in an incomplete format, I'm going to say. So I'll bring that back to game. So we don't need to run anything, because remember, this is inside the editor. So we do our game import script from Unity Sheets. Actually, the other thing I want to do is I want to immediately remove that listener, because I don't want it to be there. I don't want to keep on adding listeners. So I want to do cloud connector core process callbacks dot remove listener data received. So I just want to remove that listener again, because I don't want it to keep on hitting. Every time we tap on the import, it will keep hitting there. So and again, you probably want to put checks in there that if you are importing, then you don't want to, like, for that to be enabled and all that kind of stuff. But I'll leave that for you guys. So I'm going to do import script from Sheets here. And what do we get back? We get back, this looks like a permissions thing. This is a permissions thing. Yeah, looks like that did not work. Okay. All right, I might need to do some debugging here. Okay, first things first, let's change it to something else. Let's call this Google game script extractor. Let's call it that. And and then let's do publish deploy as web app. And again, I'm going to blot this out, but it's the exact same process, but we are going to get a different URL. So you're going to have to do the same thing here. So this is, oh no, you're going to get the same URL. Current web script URL. Okay. Project version 1, anyone even anonymous, anyone even anonymous. Let me just copy that, update. Okay. And I'll go back in here and I'll go to, where are we? So don't look at this. Oh, that is a different. That is totally different. That is a completely different URL I'm getting there. Okay, maybe it doesn't like the spaces. Gotta clear this out. Import. Let's establish the connection, but nothing back. Oh, there you go. That's it. So yeah, don't put spaces in it. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to show you this. So I'm going to copy this text out here. All of this is blotted out for you. So the lesson there is don't put spaces in your script names. Who knew? Okay, now if I go to jsonlint.com and then I click on validate JSON, you see that it's valid JSON, but unfortunately it's not in the right format. It's in this key and then English, French, and it's basically every row. So each one of these objects represents a row, and the array represents the row of objects. The list of objects, list of rows. Good grief. So each one of these is a column. So there's all your columns, and then this is your overall row. That's what I was trying to say there. All right. That's not in the right format for us. It's not a good format because we can't actually, if you use Newtonsoft JSON, then you're done. You can parse this out. In fact, I think you could probably get it into a dictionary, and then you could get it out of there, and everything would be fine. Unfortunately, we use the JSON utility, which needs to have a valid object, so we're going to have to create our own valid objects and get them out of there. So I'm going to close this script. So with that data in mind, we need to come up with something. We need to come up with a couple of classes that are going to match that. Now, the first thing is the JSON we need to do some manipulation with. So I'm going to say that I need to get if we go back to the JSON here, if we go back to the JSON here, you'll see that we have each row are these columns. So I need to have these columns imported in, and then I need to have a collection of these. So I'm going to create a class here called script sheet. Let's call it script Google Sheet. And it's just going to be a plain old class, but it is going to be serializable. So using system serializable. And that is going to have public, and then this is going to be script row, and then this is going to be rows, and each row is going to be a class in itself. And that's not going to be that there, and then that's going to be system. And each row has key English, French, Russian. So public string key English, French, Russian. So that is every script row. So that matches up kind of what we have in our script, except we don't have rows yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to say this JSON file is actually rows plus that plus that. So that is going to be our JSON file. So now if we go back in here, clear that, pardon me, I don't know why I run the game. I always do this, I don't know why. So you see we got a null reference because we need to fix that now, because the null reference is because we don't have any files in there. So we go to our game, import script from Google Sheets, and you see it's got establishing connection. And again, I'll blot out this line here. And now our JSON lint, if I click on validate JSON, you see that we now have an object which has got rows and then an array of all these rows. So now we can start to deserialize things. So let's go back to here. Okay. So our object is going to be, let's call it sheet equals JSON utility dot from JSON script Google Sheet JSON. Okay, so that is our JSON file. Now, unfortunately, there's no there's no easy way around this. We just have to sort of brute force this. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes again here. Okay, what we want to do is we want to then transform this format in here, which is script row, and then this in here, to the same values that we have up here, which is our voiceover lines, and then we have our lines of text there, which is not too difficult, but it does require a bit of finagling. So we have our voiceover text, which is our lines for each language. So inside here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say var English equals new voiceover text, var French equals new voiceover text, var Russian equals new voiceover text. So these are going to be our stores of value, and we're going to go through each one of these rows and we're going to add to this list here. Okay, that's the plan. So I'm going to say for each var row in sheet.rows. So now every row is a script row, so that has the key value pair for each of those objects. So we also need to create a list of lines. So we're going to say var en lines equals new list voice over line, and we're going to do the same thing for our French and our Russian. So for each row we have to do this manually. Now we can come up with a neat way of doing this, like but I'm just going to brute force it just now, just to let you guys know. I'm not going to like sugarcoat this. It's just going to be a brute force one because I want to keep the length of this video down. If anybody wants to post up a solution where I don't duplicate lines all over the place, perfect. That would be awesome. But just let you know that this is going to be a brute forced first attempt at it, rather than tidying things up, because obviously we can't go on with English, French, and Russian, and maybe we get Polish and German and a whole bunch of other languages down there. So we can't really go on like this. But for 3 languages, it's fine. So for each row, I'm going to say that, what are we having here? Voiceover line is key and then the lines. Okay. So for each row, we have our key there. So do we need a voiceover, the list of voiceover lines? I guess we do, because we've got voiceover text, and each one of them is a row in itself. Okay, so actually let's do enlines dot add, and then this is going to be new voiceover line. Actually, you know what? Let's do an extension. So I'm going to do an extension that takes this script row and creates a voiceover line from it. I think that's probably the fairest thing. So I'm going to say this is going to be inside editor. So I want to do add class, and then this is going to be script row extensions. Or can I do this? Yeah, okay. I think I can, yeah. Static class. I think I'm going to do 3 for the languages. Sorry. Public static. What type is it? Voiceover line. Voiceover line. Create. Actually, let's do English. This script row, run new voiceover line, and then it's going to be, we specify the key, and then the line is line equals dot, sorry, what am I doing here? I'm doing row dot key. Sorry, this is going to be key equals row dot key. I'll get this right eventually. And then the line is going to be row dot en dot split. And then each line, if we go back to my JSON lint here, you see that each line has a /n. So I'm going to split by that /n. To char array, and then it's going to be string split options dot ignore empty entries, I think it is, using system. Remove empty entries. That was close enough. Okay, so that's going to do, let me just bring that to the 4 there. So hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to put this on 2 separate lines here, just to help with the ease of readability here. Okay, so we're gonna do this English script row So we take that in, we take in a script row, and then we transform it into a voiceover line. And the way that we transform it into a voiceover line is we take the key from the row and we put it inside there, and then we take whatever language it is and we put that inside the lines, and we split the /n part of the lines there. And we need to do this again 2 more times for French and for Russian. Okay, so we're going to do RU and FR. All right, so that splits up our values there. So why are we doing this? If we go back over to here, it now makes this a lot easier, because now we can do en lines dot add row dot English. And then we can do the same thing for our French. And we can do the same thing for our Russian. Okay, so now we have each one of those in there, and all we have to do now is do en.lines equals enlines.toArray. I think that's all that's in there, isn't it? Yeah, it's just lines. And then we do the same thing for French and Russian. French and Russian. French and Russian. All right. So it's not too bad. I mean, it's a bit, you know, duplicating. So I mean, you could tidy this. I think you could tidy this up, or you could pivot the table and make it in a different format. So have the languages going down and the keys going across the top, that kind of thing. That would make it easier to put it into the format that you want. Now what we need to do is we need to write these objects out. Now the great thing about this is we just use our JSON utility and then we have it in the format that we're expecting it, because these are already serializable. So the path that we want to do is I'm going to write a function for this. I'm going to say write file, and then it's going to be script.en.txt, and it's going to be en, and then I'm going to do the same thing for Russian and French, and I'm going to do French and Russian, and I am going to generate a method, and my method is going to be this write file here, and then that's going to be our file name, and that's going to be voice over text. And our voice over text is just going to be JSON equals JSON utility dot to JSON, and that gets us into the right format, and then we just need to write it out to the file name. Now I can never remember where the path is of this, so I'm going to cheat and use this down here. So I'm going to say var path equals application dot data path, but I need to do the path dot combine. So this is system.io dot path dot combine, and I want to combine the data path with the resources folder plus, oh yeah, that's why I needed to use that. So I'm going to put this up here as a using. Plus path dot directory separator plus, and then it is going to be the name of the file, I think. What did I have it as? Yeah, plus the file name. So file name. And then all I want to do is I want to do file.write all text, and then specify the path, and then the JSON. And that's it. That's all we need to do. So this is the sort of the main part of it, if you like, is the go and add this listener, and then the listener, the data receive part, that's the bit that does the actual processing, which we'll get to in just a sec. And then this one here calls that script that we set up in the first part of this video, that goes away and gets the table from the script, and all of that's been set up inside the Cloud Connector editor part. Then when the data is received, we're going to remove the listener, and then we're going to do a little bit of data munging because we need to get it into the right format for us. And then that's going to put it inside our this sort of intermediate format here, our script Google Sheet, just so that we can transform the data into our voiceover lines here. And then we go through and process them. We extract the English, French, and Russian and put them into the correct lines there. Do the same thing here, and then we write the file out. And the file gets written out to, oops, that's a dot there, is we go to the data path, which is the assets folder. So it's assets folder. So if we go back to here and I clear this. So this is our assets folder here, and you'll see that we have a resources folder, which I deleted the contents of earlier on. Now, when we combine that with resources and then the name of the file name here, script.en.txt, it will write all the contents to disk. So hopefully, so when I run this, you see that we get a null reference. We're going to fix that with one click of the mouse. Well, actually two, but it's, whatever. So import script from Google Sheets. I'm going to clear that just now. Import from Google Sheets, and it's doing that. And the data table was received. And if we go to resources, as a refresh, we now have our script.en, our script.fr, and our script.ru. And if we choose, where are we? Our script manager, our default, our override language, we've got it set to French. So if we go in here, I think if we go to the big red button, it says, oh no, missing. So if we change that, if I go over to here, and then I change that from oh no, missing to this text should be in French. So this text should be in French, and I'll save it a couple of times just to make sure it's saved. And I go back to here, and then I click on import script from Google Sheets. And it says it's picked it up. Let's see if it has picked it up. It still says, oh no, missing. I need to refresh it. There you go. And you can, I don't know if you can make that out there, but it says this text should be in French, which is just what we wrote in our Google spreadsheet, as if by magic. And it now appears in the game. So there you go. And that's that. There is another way to get Google spreadsheets into your game if you don't want to pay the $20 up front. But I think that's for $20, that's going to save you a whole mess of trouble. And all you have to do is do a little bit of transformation at the end. And I mean, this video is what, 40 odd minutes long. You can have something up and running in less than an hour. So I've used this before for weapons and other things, as sort of player stats and things like that as well. It's sort of weapon damage radius and what do you call it? Damage over time ratios and things like that. So yeah, absolutely huge time saver. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. I hope it helped. It's the last one in this series of videos, I guess. I've got the popper one to do next, I think. And then there's been a couple of suggestions in other videos I'm going to take a look at as well. Somebody mentioned about heat-seeking missiles, and there was another one about networking in Linux as well. So probably cover them reasonably soon. But I really want to go back to that my idea of the text adventure, so I'll take a look at that as well soon. But yeah, if you liked, thumbs up. If you didn't like, thumbs down. Please let me know either way what you liked about the video. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, then feel free to click the subscribe button, click on the notify icon, click on the checkbox, and then the apply or allow button, I think. And you'll get timely notifications. Or follow me on Twitter at Sloan Kelly, or at Codehouse, which is where these tweets will be coming from this video onwards. So yeah, if you want to get timely reminders, then follow me at Codehoose, CODHOOSE. Yeah, I think that's us. I think we're done. I think we're done here. Yeah. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye bye.